Well, as we look forward to Peterbr then, injury concerns ahead of the weekend, how are you looking?
We're looking okay. Sam Nombai had a bit of a knock, but I think he's going to be fine. Zach Jules, it's a game too early. You're well aware with... we saw McWilliams come on last week and Dan Gore, so that's going to be good to have them back in contention. I think Shawnee will probably struggle to start, but Dan comes into my thinking, which is nice. Reece James will be out. He's been carrying an hernia for a number of weeks now, so I've told him to go and get his operation to make sure he's back for pre-season. So, yeah, not a lot of state secrets and not a lot of reason to tell you that nobody's going to be fit. So Darren now probably knows, not far off my team, but it's better to be truthful with people.
And a chance for fans to say goodbye to lads that have been here this season. Loans are obviously going to go back, and look, just for some in the natural selection of football, will be playing elsewhere next year.
Yeah, and I've heard contrasting views on that, obviously, as you're walking into ground, and we're not going to clap them and we're not going to do this. And look, what I want to put a message out that I want people to come and I want to thank the fans for this 8-game period. So you're not coming to clap the players to say it's been an amazing season, because by no stretch it's been an amazing season. But I would like the opportunity to thank the fans for these 8 games, because they've been tremendous with me. Been tremendous with the Andy. They've got behind the group, and look, some of them have underperformed, some of them have overperformed. That, unfortunately, that is how football lies. But I said to you when I first got this job, it's about the town sticking together, the club sticking together. And if it is that I have to clap 20 people at the end, I will do. But I'd like to think that the Rotherham fans would stay behind, and even if it's for me to thank them from me personally, I'd appreciate it.
Obviously, a lion's share of the squad will be Rotherham United footballers next year. What message do you send to them away? Because they will have to reprove themselves to those fans next season.
It's going to be different, and I've told them it's going to be different. They're well aware of it. Standards have been sloppy. We need to reset everything. We need to rebalance the club. There'll be changes, as I've said on a number of these interviews now, and I keep repeating myself, but there'll be changes in and around the club. There'll be changes that people will see firsthand, probably through yourselves and other streams, and there'll be changes that they're not so aware of. I've had good conversations with the chairman about how we see moving it forward. It's been a real important 4 to 5 weeks for me to see what I like, what I don't like. I've been probably a little bit more standoffish than I usually would be, just to see how people are in their natural environment. So I've learnt a lot. I've learnt a lot in these few weeks about what I've got here, what I need here, and the areas that we need to exploit. But first and foremost, that'll come for a start with the players and making sure they're aware what a Rotherham United team and player should look like.
And all right then, of those changes, such as what? For example, I was talking to Conor Hourahan this morning. He's got a list as long as your arm, I dare say, as well. But he was talking about changes at training grounds, changes of methodology, etc., etc. So, is it similar to that? What are you thinking of doing?
I don't think it's rocket science. I just think that lads have to work a lot harder than what they're doing. We have to show more character. We have to have an identity as a football club. We have to have a way of playing. And I think you can go into too much. Not detail, because that's the wrong word, but you can get carried away. Everybody's trying to revolutionise football, and for me it doesn't need revolutionising it. You have a way of playing. Rotherham United have a way of playing. That doesn't apply to other teams. That's a Rotherham United way, and the successful teams here have had a way of playing, and I'm trying to bring that back, and I know what that looks like. Some of the players know what that looks like, however some don't, but that'll be down to me to implement that through pre-season, and I think that the day that we come back will be the day when it all starts, and it's a day that I'm looking forward to.
Do the players that, are staying anyway, but does everybody know where they stand? Whether they know, you've told them, go and look elsewhere, etc. No,
not yet. I'm going to have meetings Tuesday, so that the return list should come out not long after that, probably. I've got my decision to be made on a few still. I've seen most players already, but there'll be players who get released. There'll be players who will stay, who I've been really pleased with them. There'll be players who I say, look, I want you to be part of it, but if you don't come back and doing X, Y and Z, then you won't be part of it. And I think that applies to most clubs up and down the country, and we're no different.
Yeah, there are obviously two players who are out of contract whose names have done the rounds clearly for ages, you know, Humphreys, etc. Do you know what he's doing and what his intentions are?
No, like I've said, look, everybody's an individualised case. We've offered contracts out. That's now down to them. However, we won't be held for too long on that. I'll try and put a deadline. It's hard when people say, oh, you've given me a deadline until 2 weeks on Thursday at 5 p.m. Well, no, we haven't. However, we're actively looking all the time. And if it is that we have to move on something and that falls off, then that's how it is. Like I've said, look, we can't wait forever for people's decisions. I'd love for certain people to stay. But that'll be down to us as a football club moving forward. If they want to be part of the ride, brilliant. If they don't, we'll replace them and the fans will have another favourite.
Does the same then apply to incomings? Because you can't necessarily be left to dangle, or you won't want to be, by somebody, however good they may be.
Yeah, well, look, you want all your players in yesterday, don't you? I'm no different to any manager up and down the country. It'd be nice to walk back in on that first day and have 22 players that I've hand-selected and we've got them. That won't happen. So we might have to wait for some. We might have to see how other players come back. I might have to react within that pre-season, which I'm sure I will, and we'll certainly have to react towards the end of the back end of the transfer window. We're part of a big, wide-scale process that when players domino, it falls down, and then certain players come available. It's important that we know our targets, but we're also actively ready should things move that we can strike.
There is a football match to contend with. Peterbr, I dare say, like Rotherham United, have not had the season that maybe they thought they were going to have at the start. What are you expecting from them?
They've got good football players. I went to Mansfield last night. They play decent football. Young team. I think they've got a number of players. You could argue they're better players out of contract and be moving on. But Peterbr have always done well over the years with developing players. I'm sure Darren will be as frustrated, probably as I will coming here, that Rotherham and Peterbr aren't kind of up and around there as they always have done in this league, really. So. They've had a great day out at Wembley and obviously beat Birmingham. So they've got talented players. I think we'll both be frustrated, stood on the side that there's nothing riding on the game as such. But again, it's another opportunity for players to impress us both, me in particular with our lads, and see how they combat a young team who want to play good football.
Is there a part of you just finally that's actually looking forward to enacting on the plans? Fans will know, loads of conversations, the battle plan will be in order, but now it's just enacting it now.
Definitely, yeah, but I think, look, there's no better time than being stood in that technical box on a Saturday afternoon in front of your own fans, and I get to experience that again, and it's been amazing. We've only had it twice. It feels like we've been away every other week since I've been here. So the fact that we get to come here, and I keep saying the same things, but look, we can't guarantee results. It's impossible. I wish I could, but we can guarantee an hard work and a due diligence on opposition, and then implementing what it is that we want to try and achieve and do, and that's what we're trying to get. And if we blow up doing that after half an hour, 45, 60 minutes, then that is what it is. I can't click my fingers in 5 weeks and all of a sudden everybody's fitter and stronger and more athletic and understands what I want to do. But there's certain things that I want to see in the performance, and I've seen a number of things that I really like in a lot of these performances, and I've seen a lot of things that I don't like, but I don't think I'd be only manager sat here now talking to you that won't probably have that opinion.
So,
it's possible if you win on Saturday that you could jump into the top half. Is that a little bit of incentive for what's essentially dead, really? Yeah, I think it has to be. Yeah, I think it'd be nice to get a win. It'd be nice to end the season with a positive result. Every game we play, I've just been speaking upstairs to a fan who's kind of struggling, and he said, "Oh, there's not a lot on it." And I went, "There's something on everything. If I played you at Poole now, I'd want to beat you." So every time we come out, we have to be on it and want to win a game of football. It's going to be tough. Like I said, they've got good young players that are playing really free, and sometimes that can surprise you. So the result last night was a bit of a random one. Mansfield played differently to how I've seen all their games been played, as did Peterbr, and I think sometimes in these games you see a bit of that.
So it's not as organised. It's a bit of chaos, and it's going to be down to us to make sure we deal with that chaos.
When you came in, you said you set a target for the 8 games, what you were going to tell us till the end.
Yes.
11 points from 7, not that.
Yeah.
Have you hit your target?
No, we haven't. No, I wanted to be in top 6 in this last 8 games, and I reminded players about that before Stevenage game. Them 3 points would have took us in, so I reminded them that again after. But fundamentally, that's where I want to aim. I want to be up there. And look, I think everybody will be thinking like next season, like top 6, and like look, the club needs a bit of a reset. We need to change a lot of things, and we need to get back to being a club that is changing, identifying younger talent, promoting from academy, getting players who've got a point to prove, and really reset that, because I think we've gone away from what we have been as a club, certainly in successful times, and like that frustrated me as a fan on the outside, and it frustrated me as a manager now on the inside.
So first of all then, look, how important is it just to put a smile on fans' faces, and look, and indeed the squad, that it's a good end to the season against Peterbr?
Yeah, massive. I think obviously when the gaffer came in, we had a terrific start, and then we've had like a couple of draws and losses and stuff like that, so to go out on a high at the end of the season would be fantastic. Because
these types of things do kind of last, don't they? And if a team wins or loses the last match, it seems very important.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, you know, it helps, especially with next year and coming into pre-season. You know, if you finish on a high, you know exactly what you're coming in to do next season. So yeah, it's definitely very important.
Are you, as a group of players, well, the manager's just been sat there talking about the fact that it's going to be hard, quote unquote, that things are just going to be very different here for the players next year?
Definitely. I think, you know, I've spoken it before. I think that a lot of people that take over and different gaffers and their backroom staff and things like that always have different plans, different views and opportunities for certain players and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be difficult for both sets of staff playing and the managerial perspective. But I think, you know, everyone's in it together. You know, hopefully some of the boys that stay that are out contract, and the boys that are in contract are definitely ready for a big tough season.
Well, and yeah, and you're one of them. So how important is it then that there are sort of 6 or 7 of you that provide that kind of good platform, if you like, depending on whatever changes are going to come with the rest of the squad?
Definitely. I think, yeah, it's very important. And, you know, I've spoke to a few of the boys that are obviously still on, and the ones that ain't, and, you know, we know what's needed to be provided next season, and we're ready to take it in our strides, really. And like you say, to give that platform for the club to start off with is a privilege. I
appreciate there's probably a list as long as your arm about changes, etc. But
yeah,
in the basic sense, what do you think is needed then, so that Rotherham are where we want them to be next year?
Yeah, I think obviously the biggest cog in the wheel is the gaffer, and, you know, we've got him in. He's been great so far, and, you know, I think ultimately, of course, it's his decisions, and also on top of that, I think it depends on who we can keep and things like that. But yeah, I feel like we've had good spells in every position on the pitch. You know, we've had good spells out wide, good spells through the middle, good spells defensively, and good spells scoring goals. So I think ultimately it's just, I'd say, that predicament of just trying to fit everything together and making it a solid and finished jigsaw piece. Puzzle, should I say.
Yeah, do you think then that's kind of a... I'm not trying to put words into your mouth, but do you think that sort of smaller changes you can get that way, or is some kind of big overhaul required in how things are done?
I don't think there's a big overhaul at all. I think, like I say, if you can get them little cogs that just fit in the right places, I think we've got the foundations to have a spectacular team. And like I say again, with the managers backing behind us and sort of the things that he can install in us, then I think that'll be perfect for next season.
And what about you? How do you assess best of the last 10 months then, as a Rotherham United footballer?
I would say it's been very rocky, bit of a roller coaster ride for quite a few, quite a few reasons. Players, for example, we haven't had the most upsailing performances and stuff like that throughout the season, and obviously from the staff and stuff like that, you know, like I said in the past, you get different things from different staff. But yeah, I would say it's been a mixture of both really. You know, sometimes the performances ain't there, sometimes the information ain't there. But like I say, hopefully going into next season, we can fit them both together and have a good one.
Is then clarity perhaps a key word for everybody here? Players, coaches, the staff?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, if there's clarity and there's information and the boys are willing to give everything for the shirt, then by any means, I think, you know, the world's our oyster next season.
Because it's going to be another interesting division, isn't it? There isn't necessarily a Birmingham that everyone looked at and went, well, forget about them.
Yeah.
So it actually might be a bit more open this time.
Definitely. I think, you know, looking at probably this time last season, or should I say going forward a couple of months, at the start of the season, everyone was saying, wow, the league's going to be so tough this year, which it is every year, to be fair. But I think a lot of people had the vision of it being almost everyone's fighting for every single game, which you do, but I'm sure you can get what I'm trying to say by that. But going into next season, like you say, you haven't got Birmingham, the sort of, everyone was saying the free hit. But yeah, I think next year's probably going to be very competitive. You know, there's going to be no teams in there that you look at, and I remember everyone was saying to me that, you know, Birmingham 100 points definitely from the off. There's no team that anybody should ever be inferior of, so it's definitely going to be a big, good season.
And just finally then, for you as an individual, but group of players as well, particularly perhaps those that are under contract for next season, look, get away, mentally and physically refresh to come back for the challenges that lie ahead.
Definitely. I think, you know, after this weekend, it'll be nice and very good for everyone to put their feet up and just have a little relax and, you know, refresh. Hopefully everybody comes back fit and fighting ready for pre-season, and then get as fit as we can be and get some new styles and stuff like that involved in our practice and take it into the next season.
Good man.
Thank you.
You found your best form under the new manager. I always knew you would, to be honest. It's dealt with before, I know what can bring out players. Fans are really starting to take to you now. Do you feel that support from them? Do you feel there's more togetherness between players and supporters than perhaps there was earlier in the campaign?
Yeah, I feel like I'm a very tunnel visioned minded person in all aspects of life, really. You know, I just take things as they come. And you know, I've had it in the past where you get on with managers, you get on with certain staff, or you don't. That's fine with me. As I think to myself, as long as I'm playing and doing my job, I'm always very tunnel visioned. But I think for perhaps the whole squad as a general, I think it's probably on the up, more so recently. You know, but yeah, like I say, I just try and do my own thing, and me personally, I feel like I've been reasonably consistent throughout the season. But you know, I think every player you ask will say they could always do better, and I've always had that view about myself.
Yeah,